The marketing industry always has to be thinking about the ethical standards associated with the industry, and likewise, the marketing research area of our industry has to have a solid ethical footing. There are a lot of ethical dilemmas that can face a market researcher. A few are listed on this slide. That the research has to be designed in a way that protects the participants, but also gets the information that the organization is looking for and does so in an efficient manner that doesn't cost more than it should. The second bullet point, abuse of respondents, we really need to think about how the people, our customers or consumers, are affected by the research, if they are at all, and what that means for them. And additionally, we need to think about confidentiality. It is pretty typical to do confidential studies within marketing research, not identifying the personal identities of the participants. And so we always need to make intentional choices about that, and then whatever promises we make to respondents about their privacy, that we keep those promises. And in particular, respondents have some very specific rights associated with any kind of research. Respondents or research participants always need to have the right to choose to either be a part of the research or to decide to stop or to opt out of the research. Respondents also always have a right to safety, so we don't ever want to do anything in a marketing research study that would put people's health and well-being at risk. The respondents are also have the right to be informed about how the research is being used, what's happening with it, how the data is being analyzed. They have a right to see the results if they so desire. So they do have the right to have access to as much information as possible. And then finally, as discussed before, the respondents or the participants have a right to their privacy. So any information that they ask us to keep private, we are obligated to do so. I have a few interesting examples, or actually scenarios or considerations for you to kind of get your mind thinking and the creative juices flowing around marketing research and the ethical dilemmas that can crop up. So I want you to think a little bit in terms of an ethics continuum, like what's depicted on this slide, that some things from an ethical perspective are clearly wrong. We know that we know certain things are wrong, viewed as inappropriate by society. And then we have sort of a gray area, things that could maybe go either way. And then we typically know some things that we think are clearly okay or the right things to do. So as we look at these few examples, I want you to think in terms of this ethics continuum. So in this example, many of you will be familiar with Google Glass and some of what Glass can do, but the person in this picture is wearing Google Glass, and one of the things that it can do is record video, among many, many other things. And so, for instance, someone could wear Google Glass and go to a retail store or a restaurant or a bank or any other public place and take video of what's happening, how they're being treated, what the service is like, etc. And that could all be happening unbeknownst to anyone, the store staff or anyone else that is present. And so I want you to think about, obviously this would be a really interesting research tool, but I want you to think about, where does that fall on the ethical continuum? What are your opinions on that? Is it clearly wrong? Is it ethically questionable in some way? Is it clearly okay? What would make it okay? What would push it over the line? Those are the kind of questions that you have to ask yourself and that the marketing research industry is asking itself right now. Another example, here is a question: how would you rate the effectiveness of the president on environmental issues, keeping in mind that he's in favor of drilling for oil in Alaska's National Wildlife Preserve? So this was an actual question that was asked about former President George W. Bush in a popularity or political poll that was taken around the elections. And so, what do you think about this kind of research in terms of the ethical continuum? Is it okay to ask a question like this? Is it clearly wrong? Does it sway people? Doesn't it? As we take a look at the question, we're asking about an opinion on an environmental issue, but then also giving some information that would clearly skew some people's opinion. And so, in my mind, this is something that falls under at least bad research practice, if maybe not also unethical. And then finally, another example, one that I think most of us can relate to. We all know that Facebook tracks what we do. So they track sites that we like and the kind of posts and conversations that we have, and then we get customized and targeted ads when we log into Facebook. And they do that by mining the personal data that we give out. And so what do you think about that in terms of the ethics continuum? Is that okay with you? It is definitely a form of marketing research. And so, again, this is an area where researchers are walking kind of a fine line. And there's lots of opportunities to learn from consumers, but there are also, some definite cautions that need to be taken. So in summary, there are many ethical dilemmas facing the marketing research industry today. I mean, we've just looked at a couple, but in your readings, you'll explore a few more. But along with those ethical dilemmas, we also have many opportunities by which we can gather really rich and really important information about consumers and their wants and their needs, and potentially do some very good things in our organizations to improve what the products and services we offer out to consumers. So it is a very fine line that the industry tries to walk, but definitely what needs to happen is that we need to have very solid ethical framework behind any kind of research that we do with regard to our consumers.